If you collect ancient Roman or Greek coins, there's a very big probability at least one of your coin has been minted in the place we're talking about today. Located on modern-day Turkey, the region historically known as Asia Minor was one of the great hotspots for economic, political, cultural, and military activity throughout antiquity, and coins of this region are very commonly featured here in the channel. From the earliest coins ever minted, through the pieces issued by some of the greatest conquerors of ancient history, to some very unique forms of numismatic art made by the various peoples that call this place home at some moment, let's take a quick tour over the wonderful coinage of Asia Minor. Let's go! So for us to understand this region a little bit better, we need to go before the invention of coinage. The flow of precious metals and commerce in the region was always very intense due to the region's position between Europe and Asia and its diverse population consisting of Greeks, Persians, Anatolians, among other ethnicities, meant trade was already intense since times of the Bronze Age. And one of these peoples were the Lydians, credited with the creation of the very first coins. Some of you in particular from the English-speaking world might have heard the expression richest Croesus, referring to someone immensely wealthy. This is a direct allusion to King Croesus, one of Lydia's kings on the 6th century, who minted the first coins we're looking at today. The very first monetary standard of the Lydians consisted of electrum coins, electrum being a mix of gold and silver. The use of this alloy generated some intrinsic problems to the newly created coin. First, the presence of gold on all denominations made even the smallest denomination too valuable for practical everyday use. The alloy itself also generated an issue of lack of trust. Okay, the coin looked like it was good, but could you trust it was 50%, 60%, 35% pure gold? We don't know. So the solution credited to our good King Croesus here was to separate the metals. Instead of electrum, the monetary system was divided into gold and silver denominations, fixing both issues. Now, everyone dealing with coins knew which metal they were dealing with, pure gold or pure silver, and this new system contained coins that served all the way from very valuable stores of wealth, from big gold coins, to minor denominations one could use in daily transactions, as in the smallest silver coins. Our example here today is a 1/3 fraction of a silver stater, the base unit of silver. At around 3.43 grams, this was still a considerable sum of money, probably around a day's wage for a skilled worker. On the obverse, we can see the typical design of the lion and the bull confronting each other, a design repeated on all of Croesus's denominations. The idea of putting a secondary reverse design on a coin wasn't something immediately thought out. So on these very early pieces, we typically just see an ink sponge on the other side. Nowadays, a very important touristic attraction, and one of Asia Minor's most famous cities, must be Ephesus. From its passage on the Bible to its importance in the ancient Greek world, Ephesus also has a very strong numismatic legacy, particularly for the lovely bees so commonly featured on its coinage, paying homage to Artemis, the protective goddess of the city. So let's take a look at this relatively early coin from Ephesus, this lovely early drachma, struck between 500 and 420 BC. We see the transition from the Greek archaic style, with a globular coin, slowly getting the shape of the flat, circular disc that nowadays we know as a coin. On the obverse, we see the B, the symbol of Ephesus, with the initial letters EF for Ephesus. Depending on the style of the B, we can actually make a chronological order of when each coin was struck, as the style of the B evolved. The reverse shows the transformation from the ink sponge of archaic coins into what maybe can be seen as a simple striated pattern to give this part of the coin some sort of visual element instead of a punch. We then move from the classical world into the Hellenistic period, a time marked by the establishment of great Greek kingdoms. We see an increased number of very high quality busts of deities finding their way into coinage. The first great Greek empire was the one established by Alexander the Great, and for a time, many of the local denominations of each city-state would be replaced by an unified standard imposed by Alexander. So right next to Ephesus, there's another very important city, Miletus, a city with an equally old tradition on coinage. Alexander imposed a unified design for the cities under his rule, but the quality of the engraving of said design, interestingly, varied considerably between cities. The coins attributed to Miletus generally show superior standards of quality, even for the humble drachma, minted by the many thousands. On the obverse of this piece, attributed to the lifetime of Alexander, between 336 and 323 BC, we see the bust of Hercules, wearing the skin of the Nemean lion as a headdress. I've always been fascinated by this unusual, young-looking Hercules. Numismatics argue that although this is most likely not the face of Alexander, the idea of showing a very young, unbearded Hercules might have been at least a small nudge, a little reference to Alexander. The reverse shows this impressively muscular Zeus sitting on his throne, holding an eagle in his hand and a scepter. Depending on the mint, Zeus was shown in all kinds of body types, from very skinny to extremely fit, which gives a bit more charm to this type of coin. You really don't know what to expect. The legends Alexandro to the right translate to of Alexander, and a small mint mark to the left was used by the imperial administration to identify where each coin came from, with this particular symbol being associated to Miletus. So after Alexander's death, we are left with an age of great Hellenistic kingdoms formed by his successors and the political scramble that happened after his very early and sudden death. The use of his denominations and monetary system would carry on, but the new political order would mean a new series of coin designs that makes this time period very diverse numismatically. So for our next coin, we are returning to Ephesus. Let's advance some 200 years after Alexander's time, between the years 180 and 70 BC. By that time, Rome was starting to exert its strong influence over a Greece that was more and more independent in name only. The city of Pergamon was a powerful ally of the Romans and imposed their will over many city-states of the area, including Ephesus. Among one of these impositions was their own little closed monetary standard with unique weights. This lovely and very intricate tetradrachm looks quite complex at first glance, but let's try to make sense of it. This is a Kistoforus. The Pergamene kings claimed to be descendants from Dionysus, so the god was among some of the main protective deities of Pergamon. In fact, the cult of Dionysus in general was extremely popular all throughout the region of Ionia. Therefore, some of his symbolism was chosen to be put in the coin. So let's actually have a look at the coin and make sense of what I'm talking about. On the obverse, right at the center, we have the Cista Mystica, a small box used on many different cults, including those of Dionysus, to represent all that was occult, hidden, secret. From it, we can see a serpent coming out. Around the entire design, we see a wreath made out of leaves, probably grape leaves due to the little grapes distributed throughout the wreath, also making a reference to Dionysus, the god of wine. We in the Western world particularly tend to have this very negative view of the snake, but it had quite a different meaning on ancient Greece. The snakes represented that which is hidden, but not necessarily on the negative side. The mysteries of healing, new and exciting knowledge that was unknown by that time, the meandering, unusual and creative ways to solve a problem, all of these were associated with snakes. This is why, for example, in the rod of Asclepius, we can find two snakes intertwined, because it, in a sense, means the understanding of and the control of the mysteries of medicine, and it just has a connotation of something mysterious that has been controlled and is being used for good. So this very unique symbology continues on the reverse, where we can see once again two serpents, very strongly intertwined, reinforcing this idea of mystery and secrecy I've just mentioned. Both serpents are looking up, where we have two cornucopias, the horns that symbolize abundance. To the left, we have a series of control marks for the authorities responsible for the coinage, and to the right, a torch, probably also another control mark for this particular issue. So we're once again moving forward in time. The Romans have taken the entire region, transforming it into one of the richest areas of the empire. As they came in, they must have immediately noticed how well established the economy of the region was, because instead of imposing the imperial system based on the denarius, the Romans would let the locals keep their monetary standard based on the drachma and simply add the imperial imagery to it. This next tiny coin is from Emperor Hadrian, struck between 117 and 138 AD in Caesarea, modern-day Kayseri. This is a hemidrachma, so half a drachma. At around 1.5 grams, it would be similar to the Roman quinarius, or half a denarius, making the equivalence between both monetary systems reasonably simple for any traveling merchants. On the obverse, we see the bust of Hadrian, in a slightly different style to that of the typical imperial designs. And the legends proclaiming his titles are written in Greek, the language spoken in the region. Autokrator Caesar Traiano Hadrianos Sebastos, which is a direct translation to what you would find in a contemporary denarius, Imperator Caesar Traiano Hadrianus Augustus. On the reverse, the design is a bit simpler compared to the Roman denarius. We can see the image of victory, carrying a palm branch, representing victory and peace, and raising her hand with a laurel wreath. Rome knew very well how valuable the region was, as it would stay in Roman hands for many centuries. In fact, the Roman presence in the region even outlived the old western half of the empire. So for our next coin, we're entering the early Middle Ages, where the Byzantines would strike massive coins like this copper follis, struck around 539 AD under Justinian the Great. On the obverse, we find that instead of the old side bust of the emperor, now the Byzantine emperors are shown frontally, wearing his crown and fully dressed in military armor, holding the globe cruciger, symbolizing his right to rule over the land, and the legends are undoubtedly Roman. Dominus Noster Justinianus Perpetuus Augustus. The reverse of these coins is intriguing. At first glance, it just looks like a random set of letters and numbers, but this is actually the first coin to feature mint marks, denomination marks, and the date of issue in the same piece. The big M in the center of the reverse equals to the Greek number 40, in this case 40 numi, the base copper coin. That's one of the reasons why this is such a big and heavy coin, weighing over 21 grams. This denomination was a multiple of 40 of the smallest coins available. Under the M, we find the mint mark, Kis, which stands for Kyzikos, an extremely old Greek colony that was still going strong in minting coins under the Byzantines. And then on the left and the right of the M, we see anno, year in Latin, and the Roman numeral 12, the 12th year of Justinian's reign, which allows us to pinpoint the minting date of this coin to between 539 and 540 AD. And for our last coin of the day, we're jumping forward 500 years to the time of the Third Crusade. Right at the crossroads between the Byzantine Empire and the Islamic world lie the Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia, a state constantly hanging in the balance between being a puppet of the Byzantines and a direct target for Eastern attack. King Levon I saw in the Third Crusade the perfect opportunity to stabilize his situation by earning the trust and support of the more powerful Crusader states and the overall Catholic world. After supporting the crusading armies and making Cilicia a launching platform for military expeditions, his recognition by the Pope meant his reign would have the stability he desired so much. And as a result of this stability, the region prospered economically quite a bit, resulting on vast numbers of his coins being minted and many reaching our days. This thin silver coin is called a tram, being struck at the royal capital of Sis between 1198 and 1219. On the obverse, we see Levon sitting on his throne, wearing his crown and some loose-fitting robes. On one hand, he holds the globe cruciger and the fleur-de-lis in the other. Maybe the fleur-de-lis was a reference to the French crusaders from the nearby kingdoms? The legends in Armenian translate to Levon, king of the Armenians. The reverse makes a bit of a visual play with Levon's name, which means lion. We see two rampant lions guarding a patriarchal cross. The legends, also in Armenian script, translate to by the will and grace of the Almighty God. We could probably make an entire numismatic channel just about Asia Minor, from Greeks to Romans, Byzantines, Anatolians, Arabs, Turks. This crossroads was a melting pot and resulted in one of the most numismatically rich regions on the planet. And in case you want to assemble a collection just as diverse as this one, and who knows, maybe add some of these very same coins to your collection, our sponsors at Savoca Coins will be having these and other 2,000 other coins up for sale at their 105th Blue Auction on the 12th and 13th of June 2021. Their Blue Auctions feature all kinds of coins, from Greek to Roman, medieval, and even modern, and are a great opportunity to expand your collection in a more affordable way. So if you are interested, definitely check them out. And if you are watching this video after the auction date, don't worry, just head over to savoca-coins.com and take a look, as another auction should definitely be happening soon. Well, now I want to hear from you collectors. Share with us which coins from Asia Minor do you like the most. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe consider leaving a like and subscribing so we can keep bringing ancient coins to YouTube. I hope you all stay safe and see you soon.